Hello there and welcome along to another mixed martial arts conversation for Sky Sports, reacting to a phenomenal victory for A.J McKee in Bellator overnight, moving to 17-0. He is through to the Bellator featherweight Grand Prix final to fight either Patricio Pitbull or Emmanuel Sanchez. He did it in some style as well. To get some reaction, let's get the thoughts of Gareth A. Davies. Gareth, good to see you. What kind of statement did we see last night?
Yeah, always good to see you as well, Ed. A massive statement. What was it? 1 minute, 22 seconds. He got taken down immediately by Darrion Caldwell. His game on the ground, he's a real grinder, a real experienced vet, someone that A.J McKee has known for a long time. And yet what he did was he showed such erudition on the ground. What was it? A shoulder lock, a neck crank, all those things together. What do we call it? We're calling it the McKee guillotine. There's a name for it. The McGuillotine, that's it. He really did produce something special, something very unusual, but it just shows how versatile this guy is. He's grown up from day one, literally, of his life in the gym with his father, Antonio McKee, who's a brilliant individual. You know, they really are from a very tough part of Los Angeles, and, you know, team body shop as they are with Joey Davis as well. Baby Slice was in the team for a while as well. They're a very formidable father and son team. AJ McKee says he wants to be the Floyd Mayweather of MMA and never get beaten. Very, very rarely does that happen in mixed martial arts, if ever. But he really has signaled something with that performance. And as you say, he's through to the final of the featherweight tournament now, and he's got both the belts, because it, you know, we'll talk about that in a minute, I'm sure, but both the belts and $1 million on the line. I mean, there is not a more life-changing moment for him in the upcoming fight in 2021 in the final of that. It's going to transform things for him. Even if he doesn't beat Pitbull, last night was the signaling of he's no longer a prospect. It's as simple as that. We can no longer refer to him as a prospect. He really did produce the goods. And that's what fight sports is all about, because he talks the talk and he walks the walk. We saw that with Conor McGregor years ago in the UFC. We've seen that with Patricio Pitbull. When people say they're going to do something and they produce it, it makes stars of them in mixed martial arts.
And how particularly ominous is it for the opponents, given the nature of the win, given the fact that Caldwell, as you say, went to his strength, his expertise early with the wrestling takedown? The fact that defensive maneuver was turned into offense so quickly, that must send shockwaves, mustn't it, to the opponents? Because I know that Caldwell himself called McKee the complete MMA package, the sort of modern day fighter. In a sense, that must make opponents think about how they can beat him.
Absolutely. He is the hybrid mixed martial artist. That's what these youngsters are now. He's still a very young man. It's no wonder that, you know, most of the significant mixed martial arts websites around the world consider him to be in the top pound for pound list, very top of the list in the under 25s in mixed martial arts. Yeah, it does. Look, Caldwell gave him great respect afterwards. And like you say, it does send shockwaves to the others. Everybody's got to be careful of Patricio Pitbull. Emmanuel Sanchez has got to be careful when he goes up against him early in 2021 in that last semi-final to be played out, the Bellator featherweight Grand Prix, because, you know, Pitbull can knock anyone out. He's a short, hench, powerful fighter in his early 30s, at the peak of his powers, a double weight world champion, a very, very formidable character, a lovely man. And you've got a young upstart, if you like, as I say, who can no longer be called a prospect, who's potentially going to fight Pitbull. But you can't write off Emmanuel Sanchez, who looked very good last week as well against Daniel Weichel, in terms of having made improvements in his game. That they call him the Matador, and he really is proving he is a Matador now. He's got the cape. So, you know, what everyone's got to do against Pitbull is not get touched by him, not get touched by those big combinations. He's a seek and destroy fighter, whereas AJ McKee is more like a Bruce Lee type fighter, an Anderson Silva type fighter, where he's got these tools, this war chest, if you like, of talent that he can produce on the night. He's reckless because he's a young fighter. He's fearless. But I tell you what, it sets up Bellator for a fantastic start to 2021.
Yeah, can't wait for that. As you rightly say, we have to wait to see whether the defending featherweight champion Patricio Pitbull champ gets past Sanchez. But you mentioned there that the challenges, and Chael Sonnen said to us in a preview ahead of the fight, there were questions about McKee we needed to be answered. I guess because of the brevity of the contest, we didn't actually get to see those questions. And do you think Pitbull will be thinking, I just wonder whether he takes one of my big shots? Is that one of the intangibles and one of the questions that makes it so exciting?
Well, look, everybody's hittable in mixed martial arts. You can't get in the shower without getting wet. And that's what happens in mixed martial arts fights. It's not like boxing where you can stay behind a defensive posture and art your opponent. So for AJ McKee, he's got to find a way to unlock Pitbull, get inside him, maybe smother him, use his kicks to control the distance, as Emmanuel Sanchez is going to have to do against Pitbull. I mean, I still favour Pitbull in that fight against Sanchez, but there's 5 rounds for him to get the job done. I mean, what AJ McKee and Pitbull both have shown is that they're finishers now at the very, very top level. So it's just so thrilling, the prospect of it. I mean, I think this is going to be one of the most exciting matchups. We thought the welterweight tournament was exciting with all that brilliant roster that Bellator have, with Douglas Lima emerging as the top of it. But I think the featherweight tournament has turned out to be even better.
Yeah, we've seen it in the World Super Series in boxing, but how much do you like as a combat sports journalist, the format, and how much does it bring an intrigue, and it almost gives people the opportunity, like McKee, to fast track their careers, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think MMA has always, or certainly it began with tournament style events, and I think they work. I mean, I really do. I mean, that we had champions emerge after one night having 3 fights in the past, and I think the tournament format is brilliant. And I mean, the way they put this together, where Pitbull was able to choose Carvalho to have that kind of side of the draw, and it's worked out perfectly. I always thought it would end up as AJ McKee against Pitbull in the final when the draw. I think the two of them are just that level above everyone else. And that's what's so thrilling, talking about it today after seeing it last night, that, you know, we've got the prospect of AJ McKee beating this champ if Pitbull comes through it. I mean, that's the dream scenario for the final. And I love tournament style events and the fighters love it, because they know they're going to fight 3 times in a year. They roughly know who they're going to fight. They have prior warning because they can see who they're going to match up with. So no, I just think it works. It really does work. And you know, praise to Bellator for getting these tournaments working. And because, you know, we've had 3 of them now, and they've all been brilliant, including the heavyweight one as well.
Yeah, it's all set up very nicely for next year. Quickly on the subject of notice, on the co-main event, we saw Benson Henderson, I think about 3.5 weeks. He came in at 170, former UFC lightweight champion, arguably the most recognizable fighter, I suppose, historically on the card, but he succumbed to Jason Jackson in a unanimous decision. What are your reflections on that with Henderson 37? Should we read too much into it, or is it just perhaps for him to go and sort of recalibrate where he should be in terms of weight division?
Well, you know, he's one of those guys that can make both weights. He needs 10 weeks to make, I think 2 months, he said he needs to make lightweight. He's got 2 years left, he's saying. So, look, he'll always be in big fights. He said it this week. He's a target for everyone. He's a name. He's a brilliant man, a brilliant fighter. But I just think Jackson showed that he's got genuine talent at the top level. He's a brilliant character. He's strong and big at the weight. He controlled the distance against Benson, which you have to do. And it's what Benson likes, you know, former brilliant Taekwondo fighter. And he beat him at his own game, rather like we're talking about with A.J McKee with Darrion Caldwell, went into his backyard, and did him in his own way. So Jackson really, again, put himself up there for potentially a challenge against the likes of Douglas Lima in the welterweight division. I love Jackson. I love his vibe. You know, he's based in America. He's truly Jamaican. I even played him a bit of reggae tune the other day when we were on the media call, and he loved it. The man carries great vibes. And when you've got a happy fighter, he's always a dangerous fighter. And that's what we saw with Jackson last night.
Yeah, Chael reflected that with Jackson, that it's all right having a fantastic natural advantage in the reach of 78 inches, but it's using it. And I suppose he provided further evidence he can do that last night. And if he can against, as you say, the likes of Lima, then he becomes a real threat, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely only one or two fights away from challenging for the belt. He's fluid. He's relaxed. He's got that fast twitch fiber, and he's just a great prospect to have. That's what I'm saying. That next year lines up beautifully, and when crowds are back, there's going to be some great atmospheres. And let's hope with this vaccine coming, into line, that we are going to get crowds, from March, April onwards, and and fight sports resumes with an atmosphere again. Because these guys have done brilliantly well in these top level fights with no crowds there, nothing to feed off. And they've done extraordinarily well, in my view.
Yeah, final thought, and it's been a fantastic, I think, spectacle. Combat sports seem to have, of all the sports, survived the pandemic in the sense of no fans better than others. Maybe there's something kind of intrinsically gripping about the action in a fight sport. But where about Bellator? Because some people have said to me in the past that UFC and MMA are synonymous. That seems to be changing, doesn't it, with the likes of McKee and Pitbull and these big names. What's your observation as someone that's followed it through from the origins?
Yeah, well, I mean, since Scott Coker took over 4 years ago and CBS Viacom bought the company, and all these TV deals with Sky Sports, with Channel 5, on the BBC iPlayer over here, they're growing their worldwide connections. It's growing in America. They're looking to put it on main CBS several times every year, as well as on CBS Sports as it is now. They've got all the mainstream platforms. They're growing and growing. It wouldn't surprise me to see them go to Canada and Brazil at some point in 2021 as well, COVID allowing. So they are growing and growing and growing. And, they're signing up a lot of the fighters that are leaving Bellator, leaving the UFC. They're growing the roster all the time. And both Pitbull and AJ McKee, as you mentioned there, have grown up purely in Bellator, and it's testament to the fact that they believe in their product, and it's getting better and stronger and more polished all the time, with growing stars who have a greater resonance within the fight sports industry. So it's onwards and upwards for them. They've done a fantastic job over the last couple of years, and we're benefiting from it in Europe as well, with so many names emerging here as well.
We certainly are. Great for the sport of MMA. Play Nostradamus finally then. Who wins the featherweight Grand Prix, do you think, if you had to be put on the spot now?
If AJ McKee can avoid being caught by Pitbull and instigate his game plan on the night, I think he gets the job done. But it's one hell of a challenge. It's another step up again after Darrion Caldwell. So I favour Pitbull slightly. But let's let A.J. McKee prove us wrong, that he really is going to be the Floyd Mayweather of MMA.
Yeah, let's see if Pitbull prevails against Emmanuel Sanchez as well. Gareth, fantastic to speak to you as ever. Speak to you again soon.
Pleasure.